Hello everybody, Lotu for Life here, bringing guys a brand new deck profile. This time around it is on my Vendread or Vendread deck profile. I freaking love this deck. It is a really cool archetype. Vendreads are very intriguing in how they work. They're a ritual zombie archetype, which is like a match made in heaven, or hell I should say. The deck works really well, and honestly I could see Vendreads being one of the best TCG exclusive archetypes. Well, not so much exclusive considering that Konami just gave the first wave of Vendreads and FAs to Japan, and they're getting it super early for some reason. I guess it just goes to show just how much Konami loves OCG more than TCG, but that's beside the point. One way or the other, Vendreads have a lot of potential, and provided Konami doesn't muck things up later on, this deck could definitely be one of the best TCG exclusive archetypes, especially if every single card in the next few sets of its support, which hopefully it does get plenty of support, are on equal par or at least close to the level of the first wave. And I have a lot of hype for it. I freaking love this deck. It's really fun, and heck, if you hate Lynx and you hate what they did to the game, then play this deck because it literally does not care. It literally does not care about Lynx and what they did. So let's get on to the deck profile. Enough yabber-dabbling, or what, I don't know, yabbering on, procrastinating. Let's get on to this. First and foremost, Vendread Slayer. 3 of him. He's the boss monster deck. He's who you want to get out as soon as possible. Granted, with a few stipulations. And he's a pretty beefy level 6, 2400 attacker. He's 0 defense, which is common for zombies. You don't really care. But being 2400 attack and level 6, making him super easy to summon, and he's just a general good beater. Whenever he battles, you can get rid of a zombie in your graveyard by banishing it, and he gets 300 more attack points permanently, so you could theoretically get him to like 3k easily after 2 battles, which is really good because, hey, having a 3k beater is always nice. And then of course, if he dies, you can send a Vendread monster from your deck to the graveyard and search out a ritual spell from your deck to your hand, which is really great. Now, you might be wondering why I'm singing this guy's praises when he's honestly a mediocre ritual by himself. And that's because, if you don't know anything about this deck, which I'd be heavily surprised if you're watching this deck profile for, the Vendread main deck monsters that are not ritual grant special effects towards the ritual monsters if you use them on the field for ritual summons. So for instance, Vendread Revenants, of which I also play 3 of along with Hound Horde, Vendread Revenants grants the ritual monster that was ritual summoned using it as tribute the ability to banish an opponent's special summon monster once per turn during a player's turn. That is really good. And then Hound Horde lets you do the same thing but for spell and trap cards, which is also really good. You basically got a double Trident who can get rid of just about anything once per turn during a player's turn. And you can, honestly, that makes Slayer better than Trident. And it just is a really good card overall. And then of course, Vendread Revenants also has the ability to spell summon itself from back from a graveyard if it dies by battle or card effect, but it gets banished if it leaves the field. Well, it comes back that way. Now granted, there's ways to get around that, and it's kind of just funny. There's a little FTK you can do with Vendread Revenants and Soul Absorbing Bone Tower, whatever it's called, I can't remember. But it's a bit complicated, and there's no, well, I mean, it's not really complicated, it just needs 3 cards, but that FTK is just a bit too hard to do. Now that being said though, my only issue with Vendread Revenants is the very fact that it has 200 defense. This card would be so much better if it had 0 defense because it just flows so much with a lot of the Shiranui stuff that I play in here, because this is very much the Vendread Shiranui build, or at least my own concoction of the build. And then of course we got triple Vendread Hound Horde. Hound Horde being a sneak peek promo, I'm sure everybody knows what he does. If he's in your graveyard, you can discard a Vendread card, special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. And then if it's used for tribute fodder for a ritual summon of a Vendread ritual monster, he grants that monster the ability to just banish a spell or trap card during each player's turn once a turn. That is really good. Just being able to interrupt your opponent's stuff, banish their diagram, get rid of their barrages, stuff like that. It's just really good overall. Very great card overall. And then for non-Vendread stuff, because that's pretty much all we got other than Spell and Trap, I'm playing 3 Zombie Master, and I'm probably like just triggering all the rarity hounds out there because super rare common. I didn't even intentionally do that, it's just something that happened. But Zombie Master, he's a really, really good card overall. He's basically Lumina for zombies. You can, once per turn, you can discard a monster, special summon a level 4 or lower zombie from your graveyard. He has to remain face up on the field, so like if your opponent like Book of Moons him or something, that effect does not go through, which is a bit annoying. But however, it's really good when you got like triple Zombie Master and just use all 3 effects to bring back each one and then just bring out something else. He's just really good overall. Triple Mizuki kind of goes about saying if he's in the graveyard, banish him, spell summon a zombie from grave. And then we got triple Samurai Skull. Now, I've seen a lot of people kind of debate on if Samurai Skull or Gozuki is better. I have both. I also, not in the same deck right now, but I have a place of the Gozuki for later on because right now I feel like Samurai Skull is better than Gozuki, and that's mostly because of Zodiacs and Trident and Masterpiece. So, Masterpiece and Trident both target and destroy cards. Obviously, that can destroy a Samurai Skull, and that can trigger its effect. So, Samurai Skull, whenever it's normal summon, you can send a zombie from your deck to the graveyard, which is really, really good. And it's a 1700 body, level 4, zombie, dark, and has 0 defense. It's like everything you could want in a zombie type monster. And then if it dies by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon a level 4 or lower zombie from your deck, which is really good, okay? Because that makes your opponent have to second guess everything that they do. If your opponent has a Trident or a Masterpiece out and or maybe like they don't have anything and they have a Mirror Force out and they have like 1500 life points, they gotta consider what they're doing because Samurai Skull will trigger and get you a free monster. That being said, this guy is also very, very effective out to specifically Trident, because if Trident has no materials under him, or maybe he has a Whiptail or something, at least I should say she actually, now I think about it, but if Trident has a Whiptail under it, your opponent has to think, okay, do I want to kill this and save my Trident? But then, oh hey, that'll trigger Samurai Skull to get another monster, and then it can just run over to Trident irregardless. So it's an easy out to Trident, because if you summon it and attack into the Trident, provided they don't have multiple Whiptails or anything, or it's already got like some other materials under it or something, as long as it's lower than the Samurai Skull and they don't have multiple Whiptails, it's an out to Trident, because if they use the Trident effect to pop it, you'll get a free monster. So they basically just have to let the Trident die, which is really, really, really good, because they don't have to worry about the Trident. Whereas Gozuki, he's not an out to Trident, and he's just right now not as good. Now, if Zoo get hit, oh yeah, Gozuki's gonna replace Samurai Skull almost instantly, but even then, I'd have a tough time because Samurai Skull, level 4, zombie, dark, like 0 defense. I think Gozuki has like 800 or something, and he's an Earth instead of a Dark, so it's kind of like iffy. I don't know. Anyways, I rambled on for way too long about Samurai Skull. Anyway, so next up is Uni Zombie. I play 3 of them. That goes without saying. If you're playing a zombie deck, Uni Zombie is a definite mainstay at 3 for the deck. Once per turn, you can target a monster you control and then either discard a card and increase that monster's level, or you can send a zombie from your deck to the graveyard and increase that monster's level. You can do both effects, but you can only do... you can do both effects in the same turn. So yeah, it's pretty nice. Just being able to discard a card, make him a 4, and then discard another card, make him a, well, not discard another card, but send a dude from deck to grave, make him a 5. And then what I usually like to do is if I have either Mizuki or Vendread Hound Horde, or maybe even both, depending on what my hand is I'll usually summon him, discard zombie, preferably Mizuki, make him a 4, and then use his effect a second time, sending Hound Horde from deck to grave to make him a 5, and then use Mizuki's effect to bring back Hound Horde, and then synchro into Cyframe Lord Omega, or heck, any other level 8 synchro that I might need at that particular point. Usually being Omega though, because Omega is just really, really good in this deck, being able to refill your graveyard. And then we got triple Shiranui Spectral Sword. He's the main tuner of the deck other than Uni Zombie. You mostly use him for his graveyard effect, which is the zombie effect, where you can banish him and another zombie from your graveyard, special summon a zombie type synchro monster from your extra deck with a level equal to the level of the zombies that you banish. So like him plus like a Samurai Skull equals a level 6 zombie. Usually Summon Skull, Archfiend, or whatever it's called. Archfiend Zombie Skull. So yeah, that's just really good overall, and he's a level 2 tuner. I wish he was a dark, not a fire, but oh well, all the Shiranuis are fire, so I kind of just got to deal with it. Then we got 2 Shiranui Spirit Master. I've been thinking about boosting this guy up to 3, but I'm not entirely sure. I really like him at 2 though, just being able to normal summon him, spell summon the tuner, go for a level 6 synchro, and then hey, if he's banished, just, you know, pop a card. It's really nice. You'll notice I don't have Shiranui Solitaire. That's because I didn't get him whenever he was really cheap, and now he's like $15 or $20. He might have gone down back to like really cheap again now that he's been confirmed for Mega 10 reprint, but I'm not picking up Solitaire until he goes down with the Mega 10s. Now once that happens, I'll probably do an updated deck profile and just try out some other stuff with the build. And then for the final monster, I play 1 Max C, because Max C is just really, really, really awesome. And due to the general consensus of the community, he's probably going to get banned, so I might as well play him while I can. Then we got triple of the Vendread field spell, Vendread Origin. Sorry, did I say field spell? I meant ritual spell. This card is really, really, really good for just. Honestly, this is honestly one of the best ritual spells I've seen in a while. That's not named Necros. This card is incredible. So you can ritual summon any Vendread ritual monster from your hand or graveyard. So you can even ritual summon from your graveyard the Vendread ritual monster. And then you can banish monsters from your graveyard for the summon of the monster. So like for instance, if like you don't have anything on field in hand, and this is your top deck, and you just need to summon something to save yourself, you can activate this card, banish other zombies, summon out Slayer from grave. That is really, 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 really good. And then if Origin is in your graveyard and Slayer would die, or if you have multiple Slayers, Slayers would die, you can banish this card instead. So like if you have a Slayer out and your opponent Regekis, you can banish Origin, and or like for instance Trident, or like Battle, anything. It doesn't matter. If Slayer would die, you can banish this card from your graveyard. That is incredibly, incredibly good for this deck, because not only does it make it so that you can protect your boss monster, who's already just disrupting your opponent enough, but because it specifically lists Slayers in the freaking name, I mean in the card text, you can play Pre-Preparation of Rites. And this is the easiest way, the best way that they have made it to where you can have an archetypal, non-specific ritual spell, but still make it playable with pre-prep. So what they did, because while yes you can use Origin for the ritual summon of any of the Vendread rituals, because it says specifically Vendread Slayer in a part of its card text, pre-prep works with this deck, and that is glorious, because pre-prep is easily one of the best ritual support cards ever. Just being able to add any ritual spell and a ritual monster from your deck to the hand, and also I believe you can grab the monster from graveyard too if you need to. So yeah, one ritual monster from hand or from deck or grave to your hand is just incredibly, incredibly good, and this card is just so incredibly powerful for this deck. If you open this with like if you open this with like Hound Horde and Revenants and some way to get Hound Horde and Graveyard to pitch your Slayer to special summon this guy, to special summon Hound Horde, you are golden. It is so good. Then we got 2 Book of Moons, did I say Book of Moon? Book of Life. Book of Life. This card is literally Monster Reborn for zombies, but you gotta banish this monster from your opponent's graveyard. That sounds like a cost, and technically it kind of sort of is, but it's not really. It's just a really trolly tactic. Oh, hey, you're doing against Zodiac? Okay, goodbye, you're one of your Rapiers in your graveyard, and now you got 1 that you can work with. and making it literally just a full burial and nothing more. So this card is just really good for the deck, being able to just extend combos, bring back Slayer if he dies, stuff like that. And then we got 2 Allure. Not everything in this deck is dark, so I feel like playing any more than 2 Allure would be a bit risky. But a lot of the stuff in this deck is dark, and so I play 2 Allure to get through my deck and get to my combo pieces. As Vendreads get more and more support, and this deck becomes more focused on the Vendreads rather than the Shiranui, this card is definitely going to become a 3-of in the deck, especially if all Vendreads are dark like they are right now. And then we got 1 Shiranui styles Synthesis. The Shiranui field spell is really interesting. It's really good late game and mid game, but it's terrible early game. And the big thing with this card is that it requires you to have no monsters on the field, which I just don't understand why they put that into card text when it doesn't have anything to do with the freaking deck's playstyle. So it's a good top deck. Well, maybe not really much of a good top deck because it requires a discard, but it's a good late game, mid game recovery card for just being able to get stuff back in grave and being able to revive a zombie. So really nice. Then 1 Preparation of Rites. It's only at 1, so you gotta just play it as a 1-of. Really good card. Get a level 6 or lower, level 7 or lower zombie from your deck to your hand, and grabbing back a ritual spell from your graveyard is always nice. And then 1 Fool's Burial for getting stuff in graveyard that you need. You'll notice that I don't really play any back row removal. That's because this deck doesn't really care about back row, and Slayers can always get rid of stuff. I'll probably add a Twin Twister at some point, but to kind of mitigate that, we got the literal zombie version of what was that one card called? Icarus Attack. So Shiranui style Swallow Slash. This card is freaking amazing, and it's yes, I compared it to Icarus Attack. It is a much better version of Icarus Attack. All you got to do is tribute a zombie, target 2 cards, banish a Shiranui from your deck, and then destroy those 2 cards. So what you generally do is like, oh hey, you got an Uni zombie out, you don't really want to do some combos or anything, and you know your opponent's playing something like Zodiac or something, and you want to disrupt what they're doing. Okay, you set up your grave, you set up your everything, and then you set this card, and then you just surprise your opponent. Okay, they're making their plays, you activate this, pop 2 cards, you banish Spirit Master, pop a 3rd card. That is really good, and then of course you get stuff in your graveyard for being able to floodgate, well not floodgate, but flood the field later from a graveyard. It is just such an incredibly good card. If it wasn't a hard once per turn, I would totally be playing 3 of this card. That's literally the one thing that like Icarus Attack has for going for it over this. Oh yeah, that, and also you need to have a Shiranui in deck. That's always the most obnoxious part, and one of the reasons why I kind of want to play a 3rd Spirit Master, but I just can't reasonably play a 3rd Spirit Master right now. Now, with that being said though, once I get Child Solitaire, then yeah, he's another Shiranui, so yeah. And I play 1 Shiranui style Samsara. Just being able to recur your stuff from the deck and get an extra draw card is always nice. And then being able to just banish something you control that's a zombie and take no damage for the rest of the turn is always great. And that's battle or effect. So if you're dueling against Chain Burn, which might see an increase in popularity, or if you're dueling against Trick Stars, which I know is going to be somewhat popular, then you just flip over this, banish the zombie, you take no effect damage or battle damage. And it just is glorious and is a wonderful funny troll. And it just drives your opponent crazy. And then 1 Vendread Reorigin. I really want this card to be good, and I really do want to play more than just 1 of it. But right now, Vendread Reorigin, there's no good reason to play any more than 1. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't play any at all, because the card is a very much mixed bag. It's a trap card for one thing, which is annoying, and it's a secret rare for some reason. So what it says is you can tribute 1, well, when you activate this card, tribute 1 of your opponent's monsters with a level, and then spell summon a Vendread token to your side of the field with the same level as that monster. It's a dark zombie type monster, 0 attack and 0 defense, and while you control that token, you cannot normal or special summon monsters except Vendread monsters. Which, okay, yeah, it's spot removal, and like, okay, you're dueling against Zodiac, they summon out their Rapier, they start doing stuff, and before they go into their Xyz, you activate this card, tribute off the Rapier, you get a token. You know, just troll your opponent. It's really good, and I can see this card being better as Vendreads get more and more support. The big thing with this card is that it locks you out of summoning your non-Vendread stuff. So once Vendreads get more support and become an actual playable archetype by themselves without needing the aid of the previous zombie archetype, then yeah, this card could be really good. But right now I say it's a definite maybe one of, and I can totally understand why you might want to drop it and cut it out entirely. That being said though, I do have my playset for in case this card spikes in price after the Vendread stuff gets more support. So yeah, just I would say definitely like get a hold of a playset and hold on to it and wait and see if the price goes up after Vendreads get more support in Circuit Breaker. Anyways, moving on to the extra deck, I'm not gonna lie, there's only one real card in this extra deck that really matters. Well, actually two real cards that matter. That's Archfiend Zombie Skull and Cyframe Lord Omega. Those are like the only two you really make. Because again, like you mostly just summon out your ritual and kind of just sort of sit on it, trolling your opponent, getting rid of stuff, and then just attacking for game a bunch of times. But however, so like really the extra can look like however you want it, but this is what I've been running. So first and foremost, two of the level 6 Shiranui Synchro Samurai Saga, I think is his name. He's good, not really. He's somewhere in between. Just being able to shuffle back a zombie in your banish zone to change all of your opponent's monsters, attack, position monsters to defense, whose attack are less than that monsters that you just shuffled back. It's okay, you don't get to use this effect too much. And then he has a banish effect where, oh hey, if he gets banished, you can reduce the attack power of one of your opponent's monsters by 500. It's nothing major. It's supposed to aid in an OTK after level 8 Shiranui Synchro, who we'll get to here in a minute. But overall, you just play them to just kind of like sort of rank up into, well not rank up, but you know, like level up into higher level Synchros. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm playing 2 Archfiend Zombie Skull. The card is just really good. He just got reprinted, so there's no real reason not to play him. Just being able to make all of your zombies indestructible by card effects is incredible. And it goes for your card effects too, which means he combos really, really well with a card that we'll get to here in a little bit. But still an overall just really good card for protecting your zombies. And then I play 2 Shiranui Shogun Saga, or sorry, Shogun Saga. I cannot speak today for some reason. This card is just really your OTK enabler. Whenever he's synchro summoned, or I believe if he's special summoned, period. Yeah, if this card is special summon in general, you can banish one of your zombies from your graveyard. His attack power, he gains that monster's attack power. So like, oh hey, you have a dead Slayer engraved, banish it. This guy becomes 5400, which is really, really, really stupid. And then if he himself is destroyed by battle or card effects on the field, and sent to the graveyard, you can target one of your banished zombie type monsters of 0 defense, return it to the graveyard. I had to read that last effect off because oftentimes if you summon this guy, you're just winning the duel because he can just dish out so much damage by himself, it's crazy. I play 1 Revived King Hades because he's really, really good, but right now there's not many grave effects running around, like floating effects. Right now that like, or would float off of being destroyed by battle. So what Hades does is, while he's on the field, all your zombies, if they kill a monster in battle, that monster's effects in grave are negated. So, oh hey, you kill a fire hand, okay, you don't have to worry about its effects, but like nobody's playing the hands, nobody's playing any battle floaters, there's just nothing you really see right now like that. So I only play 1 of them. If we go into a format where that becomes more relevant, I might bump him up to 2 or something, but he's just overall really good right now, just as a 1 of, for just in case, like if you duel against a rogue match or something. 1 Black Rose Dragon, just in case, because just nuking the board is always great. 1 good old Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon, because negating the monster effects of your opponent in the battle phase are freaking amazing. Oh hey, you're worried about your opponent just saying, ha, I have a Trident with a Whiptail on the field. Okay, well, during the battle phase, you don't have to worry about that Whiptail. Now granted, you still have to worry about the Trident, but you're probably not gonna like summon this unless like you have a way that you've already baited out the Trident and stuff like that. 1 Cypher World Omega, it's all I have. I would say play as many as you have that you can play. So like if you have 50, you know, obviously you only play 3, but you play as many as you can. So I only have one. I'm not going to be able to get a hold of another, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets hit or something sometime soon. So I'm only going to really focus on keeping my one, but if you have two or you have three for another deck or something, definitely play as many as you can. One Trish, because this deck can actually sometimes make Trish. It doesn't get to do it very often, but it can. One Shiranui Sun Saga. He's the technical boss monster of the Shiranui archetype, but he's not really all that great. Like, you gotta shuffle back synchro monsters in order to use his effective pop cards, and then he has some sort of destruction effect I can't remember. If a zombie type monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this Shiranui monster from your graveyard instead. So pretty decent for his protection effect, but honestly his shuffle to destroy effect is just not all that great because you need to shuffle back synchro monsters and you don't really banish your synchros too much. The one XC I play is Beatrice because she's the only one you really get to make and the only one who really occasionally need to make. She just gets loads up your graveyard. Maybe you use a synchro and a slayer to go into her, stuff like that. You don't really do it too often. And then I do play two link monsters, one Deco Talker just in case. And then here's the guy that like really has to start a show for this deck that's a link monster. That's Topologic Bomber Dragon. And the reason why I say that is because if you combo Topologic Bomber Dragon with zombie, hang on, let me just get these two out here. If you combo these two, this deck is so stupid. Okay, so let me just say, making Topologic's not the easiest thing in the world, okay. But if you do get to make him, and you're just gonna get to sit on him, and then you use your Shiranui effect engrave to summon out this guy to one of his zones, that'll trigger Topologic effect to nuke everything in the main monster zone. But Archfiend Zombie Skull says, hey, zombies you control can't be destroyed by card effects, which means you're free to summon as many zombie type synchros, like C's, rituals, whatever the heck you want to, into your Bomber Dragon's link zones. And yeah, every single time will trigger Topologic Bomber Dragon's effect and nuke the main monster zone, but your zombies will never be destroyed by them and by your own monster, which is amazing. And then that just really control over your opponent because, oh hey, your opponent's doing stuff, they're trying to summon out stuff. Okay, Vendread Reorigin, tribute off one of your opponent's monsters, summon out the token to Topologic's monster zone, and then nuke everything. It just is really, really good. And then you don't have to worry about your token getting killed because you have this guy. So yeah, right, there's a lot of really funny plays that Topologic can work with this deck, and I kind of want to try and build a build that's like more focused on doing that, but right now this is my general build, and this is just kind of like an idea for later on. Maybe one that like plays Gofu or something. But with that being said though, this is still a nasty combo for just this deck if you do get it out. Obviously the easiest way of making Topologic in this deck is to summon out Triple Zombie Master using his effect, but again, that doesn't really happen too often. So guys, that's the deck profile. I absolutely freaking love Vendreads. I can't wait to see what else they're getting, what else they're going to get in the deck and everything, what Konami's going to do. I have high hopes for Vendread. I really, really, really hope that this deck turns out to be good. I hope it doesn't end up like another UA where, oh, it has potential, but it's one or two cards off. I guess that's more comparable to Subterrors, but hey, maybe Subterrors will be good with Guru, or I don't know. I don't even know what that deck needs anymore at this point. Anyways, guys, so thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a great day. If it's your birthday, happy birthday, and see you all later. Peace out and goodbye. Legend for Life, just wanted to give a quick shout out to my two Patreons so far. To my two wonderful, wonderful Patreons, Cambrock223 and Night Zone. You guys are incredibly, incredibly awesome, and it just, I can't express my thanks enough. Thank you guys both, and I hope everybody has a great day. See y'all later. Peace out.